How would you describe what you do? Maybe we'll start there.
Yeah. The best way I've been able to describe it, and this is you've probably heard this phrase before, but my role, my reason, my purpose is to help entrepreneurs go from chaotic to peace, and so to bring peace to their business, to take the chaotic aspects of their business, put it into a system that is repeatable, that actually works.
Right.
I am an EOS implementer, and I help businesses get really good at 3 different things. We call it vision, traction, and healthy. Where are we going? How do we get all the people rowing in the same direction, all the arrows aligned in the same direction? How do we make sure that they're accountable, that no matter where we go in the organization, an entrepreneur can look and go, oh wow, okay, they're pushing towards the vision, they're pushing towards the vision, they're pushing towards the vision, or they're not, and we've got a problem, we need to fix that, but we know how. And then last is probably, I don't want to say it's the most important, but it's one often missed, and that's healthy. How do we develop healthy leadership in an organization, all the way from the owners, throughout the leadership team, throughout the organization, as goes the leadership team, as goes the organization. So when I say healthy, I mean open, honest, vulnerable with one another, willing to point out the issues, the problems, and not run away from them and not bury them in the chaos. So long answer.
All of that.
But that's what I do.
Would you say, when you talk about healthy, I don't know if I've heard you describe those 3 buckets before. It was the vision, the traction, the healthy, right?
Yep.
When you think about the healthy, is that the most common unhealth that you would see in a team? Is the unwillingness to be open and honest and vulnerable? Or are there other things that someone could take a look at their business and go, oh yeah, I'm experiencing unhealth because of this present in my business?
Yeah.
I can see how that would be the major one, coming from different companies
well,
had different experiences with, but
everything else flows from that.
Sure.
So I would say, yeah, in terms of, we'll talk a little bit, I'm sure, about target market, who it is that I work with,
right.
Things like that. But I will go ahead and say it's if an entrepreneur, until they get to a point where they're willing to open up, we aren't going to be able to move into anything else. Once they are, then we can begin to look at those EOS 6 key components of the business.
Right.
Because we know if we can strengthen the 6 key components of the business, vision, data, people, process, issues, and then that traction component, their business starts to become, I like the word peaceful, right?
Right.
Don Tenney, one of our founders, said this probably about, I don't know, earlier in the year as he was addressing other implementers, including myself, he said, we're peacemakers.
Wow.
And, it's he's one of those guys where you just walk away and he said something that short and you have to unpack it for days.
Yeah.
And it's true. That's the heart, really, behind what I do. We were talking earlier in the last episode about the path, but the path for me has been this path where serving and entrepreneurial drive comes together, and so my business is all about serving the entrepreneur to get peace in the business.
That's great. I'm drilling down in this area of unhealth because I feel like it's got to be a stumbling block for most people to, I mean, there's got to be key things here that are keeping entrepreneurs from seeking something like what you are passionate about. EOS as a concept has been so helpful for so many. I want to get to some of the history there.
Sure.
But if unhealth is largely characterized by at first an entrepreneur their unwillingness to be open and honest and vulnerable, what are the key things that you see over and over again that keep an entrepreneur in that spot? Don't allow them to get open and honest. And what are you expecting them to get open and honest about?
Fear, most of the time, is going to keep us from staring at the problems long enough. I think depending on the time elapsed in the journey of the business, how many years have elapsed with the same problems that they face each and every day, month, year, over and over and over and over again with the same team, and there's just this vicious cycle that they become numb to. So when I say this, it's I want you to understand, like, this is not a accusation. It pains me, because I do know what's on the other side.
Totally.
And so what's unhealthy most of the time is a fatalistic mindset as to this is the way things always will be.
Gotcha.
Right? Or, hey, this is the way this market is. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
The market's been down for 2 years and 3 years because of the economy, because of this, because of that. So, maybe there will come a day where all this breaks open. It's going to get better maybe one day. Those type of things. A lot of it's just, again, connected to what I just said, but habit. Habit of, we're just swatting flies every day. And that's the work. Like an entrepreneur that's living in chaos begins to believe that that their reality is reality, meaning that the chaos that they live in, oh man, this is just entrepreneurship.
Right.
This is who we are. This is what we do. It's a startup, man. Like, we don't sleep.
Right.
We just go. Which is not true. It's not true. If it is true, then maybe it's the wrong idea.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's that mindset that says issues are coming. I'm just going to keep dealing with them as they come. Kick them like, we got to work extra hours. We can't afford to hire anybody else. It's just that unhealthy thinking.
Yeah. In some ways, it sounds like you inspire others to see what's possible as an entrepreneur. There's also this combativeness against scarcity mindset that I think you bring as I'm listening to you. And you can riff off of that and correct me if I'm wrong. But then what I'm hearing too is with ingrained issues with entrepreneurs, for those out there who may be listening and wondering if this is for them, I think I would imagine that at times there's inherent shame with, like, there's this unhealth that's been present, or these issues that have not gotten resolved, and why have I not been able to do it? I think that hits to the core of some people's identity as an entrepreneur is, why can I not make this work? And oftentimes, to what I also heard you say is what I've heard, other experts in the areas of shame and fear and mental health and stuff say in the past has been, when people feel shame, they feel that feeling that is really a sucky feeling in so many ways, they tend to blame. Like, it's let's get it off of me as quickly as possible. And so let's blame the market. Let's blame, the team. Let's blame entrepreneurship itself. Let's blame my life decisions to get here and the machine that I have to run and kind of try to keep up with now as my business, continues to grow. Yeah. How would you respond to that? Do you think that's an accurate assessment, that oftentimes it's shame that's the core issue? Or?
Yeah. I'll give you an example of this. Is I always meet with if someone is even thinking about, hey, we want to potentially step off into utilizing you and Blake to help us implement. EOS and your services and things like that, like the first thing that I want to do is I want to meet with them, and I want to meet with the team together, and I want to go ahead and just kind of get this dynamic out there.
Yeah.
Let's ask some questions. Let's see where everybody's at. And so I'll ask questions about vision. I'll ask questions about, people and just different aspects of the business, of the team. And just there's a moment there where a lot of times where the founder, visionary gets to hear the rest of the leadership team's perspective. And so, I ask them a lot of times to share the story. Sometimes it's the first time that they've shared the founding story with their own leadership team.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
oftentimes it gets emotional.
Yeah.
Oftentimes there's a breakthrough before we ever even do anything,
Wow.
But what I wanted to say is what I will always say after laying out, like, here's the 6 key components. Here's what they look like when they're 100% strong after we do the work. I want you to understand, like, the work is going from anywhere on this continuum of 0 to 100% strong in each one of these. I want you to take a deep breath right now, because average starts right here at 20% in each one of the 6 key components.
Average. Wow.
Average.
Yeah.
That's normal,
Right.
for a business to start there.
Yep. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because the lack of intentionality of putting in an operating system, an intentional operating system that is tried and true,
Right.
and which without that allows the business to just operate the way it operates, right? So
Kind of default instead of design.
Yeah, it's not an accusation or anything that should cause shame.
Right.
It's just an aha moment that says, oh, well, we're at 20% because we haven't done the work.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
The work is not, we say this a lot of times at EOS. Gino says it. It's not a magic pill, right? It's just tried and true tools that have been around for hundreds of years and will be around for hundreds more.
Right.
The problem is, we all know that those things exist, and we've read things and we read books, but what's so genius about the EOS system is that the way that it's packaged into a system that's repeatable.
Okay.
And so we've had a couple decades now to figure out what works best in what order and what things, and it gives them the ability to just come in and work through a process.
Totally. Walk me through some of the history related to EOS. Where did EOS come from? How did you originally get exposed to EOS? Obviously, it's been around for some time, but it seems that it's very in vogue right now with a lot of people that I talk to, and it's picking up a lot of steam. It seems like there's a lot of energy and excitement and attention around it. Walk me through, broadly speaking, history, your personal history with it. How do we end up here?
Yeah, no, great question. So I'll start with the EOS history. Gentleman by the name of Gino Wickman. If you've read the book Traction, which many people will have read, Traction, it was written by Gino, and it really summarizes and encompasses the EOS system, EOS model. Gino's background is pretty unique in some ways not. He's one of those people that is a serial entrepreneur. I laugh and say probably since the age of 2, but just one of those people. Always had that engine that we talked about in the last episode. And then the next piece of this for him was entering into a family business that he was called back into to fix and clean up.
Wow.
Okay. Which many people listen to the podcast will feel as I say that.
Yes.
Family business is unique and requires a lot of different things. that we could probably talk about on another episode. But
Yeah, absolutely.
Gino was called in anyway. Long story short, he turned the business around, and they were able to exit and sell the business. In a few years, and then at that point, kind of in conjunction with that, he was the original founder of the EO chapter in Detroit.
Okay.
So a founding member, I think there were 10 of them that started the chapter. The reason I bring that up is because what that did is that positioned him in a place with entrepreneurs, and what he found himself doing with most, if not all of his time, was spending time with entrepreneurs, helping them run a better business.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the tools that he cobbled together during that time are what we have in the EOS.
Gotcha.
Okay. So again, it's these tools that were put together into a system that's repeatable, that works, that drives accountability through the organization. So when Gino sold the business, left the business,
This is the family business at this point.
Yeah, the family business. He started EOS. And what we have are, today in about 850 implementers across the world, like me. Didn't happen overnight.
Wow.
But that's what you see, all these years later. With EOS. So for me, where did I intersect with EOS? Safe Foods Corporation, okay, when we were running the business. We had, I think recently started manufacturing. Before we started manufacturing, and before we built the chemical facility, manufacturing facility, we were a distributor of products. So we had distributing partners that we would go out and sell for. Well, we decided, we took the leap to manufacture chemicals and equipment and software to the industry that we served. And so we jumped off into the deep end of that. And man, we had been extremely successful. But I can remember 4 of us sitting in a room going, I get it that outside looking in, man, we look like rock stars. We look amazing, like we really have our stuff together. But we all know that we don't.
Wow.
We all know that we're tired. We don't even, we've worked so hard to get here. We have no idea what's ahead. We have not projected what the world looks like beyond today. And we're feeling all of this. It's really not fun right now. What do our people feel like?
Sure. Yeah.
So we've got to do something. And so we invited a few different consultants and whatnot to come in. Ultimately, we met an implementer for EOS. Had him come in, and man, it was exactly what we needed. So we started our journey at that point into EOS.
Had you read Traction at that point? Okay.
No,
So
this was my first introduction
Okay.
to EOS. And so
Wow.
we dove in, and man, what 4 years later, 5 years later, we sold the business, exited the business. Great success story for Arkansas, for all of our investors who had stuck with us for decades now.
Right.
At that point, and man, just a great story, and stuck around well, let me say this. I know that if you called any of the other 3 people who were in that room and asked them the question, like, how did you guys do it? Because we get asked that question all the time. How did you guys do it?
Right.
It would not be the only answer, but the top answer would be if we wouldn't have implemented EOS,
No kidding.
we wouldn't have been able to do what we did.
Yeah.
At least in the amount of time that we did it,
Yeah.
So that was the end result. I stuck around the business for about a year after we sold, and already knew, it wasn't I need to, I want to, I have to go help businesses do this.
Yes. Right.
Every business deserves to have an operating system. If it's not EOS, find one that works,
Right.
because you are crippling yourself. You are extending out the time to reach your goals and to clarify things for your people if you do not have an operating system in place. So,
What were the major things that shifted when you started implementing EOS at Safe Foods? What were some of the biggest early wins that you were able to see that sold you on it?
great question. I think clarifying our vision, facilitating to a common vision. I tell teams this all the time, like, the vision exists, in this whole team. It's just slightly different for each person's interpretation, but that slight difference creates chaos.
Wow.
And will slow down, all of your efforts.
Yes.
And all your people's efforts, and they will be confused and they will be disillusioned. So there's that piece. One of the things too, we were really good. I will say we were really good at hiring good people.
Yeah.
Man, we understood. We would always say this, man, I think when we'd find somebody, we'd say, that's a Safe Foods person.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure everybody kind of has their own term for their business. And when they find that right person with the right core values, we didn't totally understood what that meant.
Sure.
So we had a couple decades behind our belt of understanding the type of people who had gotten us there and who we were, and but we needed to define those really good. And then because in order to scale, you must get that right.
Yeah.
One or two wrong people getting on the bus will derail
The whole thing.
the whole thing. So in order to scale, we had to begin rooting out the dysfunction that existed in right people, right seats. So that was a huge shot in the arm for us. We trusted the process really quickly, and so we made moves really quickly after that.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that what I saw with our business, and I see with many businesses, is infusing true accountability into the organization. And so the way we do that with EOS is, and this is a fan favorite tool, okay, because it has the immediate ROI, and that's implementing a meeting pulse into the business.
Okay.
We ask businesses all the time. I ask them all the time, like, tell me about your meetings.
Yeah.
And they just go, meetings. You know the feeling.
Totally.
It sucks. I hate meetings. Why? Well, we do it too often because we have this owner, founder, leader that just thinks that, man, we just need to meet. That's because they're lacking in something in terms of understanding and knowing things, or we don't meet enough. We call it the circles are way too disconnected.
Right.
So we don't, we have that communication gap. But the other thing, and maybe even bigger than that, is when we meet, what do we do?
Yeah.
Most people leave the meeting going, oh my God,
Right.
if I could just have that hour back,
Right.
What if we are solving the most important issues that week, removing the distractions, okay, getting those solved so we can come back and focus and keep going on the things that are priorities and most important. So we infuse a meeting with a specific agenda that I teach them how to look at the most important data for the week, to hold themselves accountable to the goals that they've put in place, and solve the issues. Those things, those mosquitoes that are coming that you're constantly swatting. Let's solve it. Let's get to the root. We've got an hour and a half each week to make this happen, and then go put your head down and go finish the most important things.
Right.
For a visionary, for any leader, for them, can you imagine to be able to walk into this meeting let's say you have, 20 employees. There's a lot going on from the day when you first started it, when it was just you. But you have a meeting where you're seeing everything, reports. You're seeing the leading indicators that week of what's going to drive revenue, of what's going to drive this, of what's going to drive that on a scorecard. You're seeing everyone's 90-day priorities in front of you, and they're telling you it's on track or it's off track every week. Okay?
It's huge.
And then there's issues. We know what they are. They've surfaced. People are now documenting those, bringing them up, but we're solving them.
Right.
And we know what it takes.
Wow.
What does that do for a visionary, for a founder
Yeah.
who's been operating in that chaos that we were talking about forever? But now they have this meeting where they can walk out of there and they don't have to send 1 million emails the rest of the week checking on this and what's the status of that and what's the status of this. I tell people all the time, like, because you hear it from the rest of the leadership team, they're like, man, why does my visionary do this? Why do they step into this? Why are they driving me crazy? Well, imagine being them.
Right.
Imagine being on that side.
Yes.
And all the investment, the blood, sweat, and tears your family has put into this.
Right.
And you want to know what's going on with that investment. Well, let's pour some grace into that recipe and put a system in place that gives everybody what they need
Wow.
to operate in peace
Yeah.
and not chaos.
That's a dream right there. That is incredible. So I'm drilling down on this whole safe foods thing because it's I can see it very pivotal to your journey here with EOS.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had other people come in to present, other consultants, these types of things. I would like to ask the question, how does EOS differentiate itself in the market? Obviously, it's a very unique thing, but you guys were able to make the choice to move forward with EOS in the face of having other options too. Do you find that EOS has a lot of competitors? And if so, how does EOS, if someone's looking at a couple different options for their business in terms of framework or system or whatever you call it, operating system, why EOS? And why did Safe Foods go with EOS as opposed to the other people in the room?
Do I run into, if somebody comes to me and wants to talk about EOS or wants to talk about their business, are they looking at typically 2 to 3 other systems? The answer is no.
Oh, interesting.
I just don't, honestly, for me, and I may be unique in that, who I'm talking to.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But I don't typically encounter that.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to why that is.
Sure. Right.
I will say that even for me, even though I was comfortable with EOS, and that's what we ran our business on, when I was researching what my practice would look like and how I can best help entrepreneurs, I did look at other systems that were out there.
Right.
Is this the one that, maybe a slight spinoff of EOS or whatever? I would look at that, but I kept coming back to EOS. Didn't know this then, but what I know now is ultimately the power behind EOS is in the community of implementers.
Okay.
So what it's not is a bunch of lone rangers out there doing their own thing individually. What it is we drive health internally as well. So I'm driven by implementers anywhere from has been doing this from the start, like Gino, with Gino, all the way till just months at a time. But just like the ongoing effort of driving the community behind behind it and getting better, becoming like when we get off of, because we're all entrepreneurs.
Right.
That's what's crazy. All implementers
Yeah.
are entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
many of which have owned multiple businesses. So there's that entrepreneurial spirit that we don't put out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how do we stay pure to what works and not do all of these iterations and things like that? So the power has been in this rare combination that brings together community of how do we get better, how do we change things when they need to be changed, but at the same time staying pure to what we know works.
Right.
Our proven process
Wow.
each and every time. So
That's really cool. It's impressive that EOS doesn't have. I mean, there obviously competition somewhere in the market, but it is also impressive just how that speaks to the quality. Honestly, that people continually come back to EOS. I see EOS all over the place these days. LinkedIn, like a lot of the people that I talk to in business, they bring up EOS. Even Ben Rao, who was on the show this past week when we were pre-recording. He's EOS Light with his plumbing franchise, and it's just so ubiquitous these days, which is really cool. So going back again to the safe foods thing, a lot of questions, a lot of entrepreneurs will probably question this, being the do-it-yourself types. We've even had conversations about this ourselves.
Sure.
Is what is the value that an implementer brings? What did Safe Foods benefit from paying someone big bucks to come in and implement for them, to teach them about how the system worked? People would say, weren't you qualified to, and especially even with you being in the bench that you have already, wouldn't you have been qualified to do the traction, to read traction, to, coach the team up on all of those things, basically self-implement?
Yeah.
That is I feel like that's going to be a common question.
Sure.
How would you respond to that?
Yeah. So let me start by saying what EOS for companies that do decide to self-implement. EOS, we do our best really to surround them with resources that they need to go make that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Our heart and passion is that they do it. Right?
Right.
That we want to get behind that. It's not just, hey, you decide to self-implement, go figure it out.
Right. You're not gatekeeping.
We're not gatekeeping.
Right.
Here's what we know is that success rate of implementation without an implementer is much more difficult.
Sure.
Much more difficult. Now, are there times where that organization will have somebody that is capable in terms of capacity and just being able to do it? It's rare.
Right.
It's rare.
Right.
So, even for me, I've been able to come in on the tail end of self-implementation.
Sure.
Because that's where the company was. But to be able to come in and breathe life into it from a standpoint of, this is my work. This is all I do.
Right.
I obsess about this. I obsess about the process. I don't think there's any argument that can lend its weight to what's the best route. Self-implementation or bringing in a professional implementer that does this. So there's that piece of it. Andrew, I think from a I'll look at it through the lens of Safe Foods.
Sure.
Why didn't we? Maybe I had the DNA. Obviously, I know I do now.
Right.
Because this is what I do.
Right.
My job was to drive revenue. My job was to make sure that a commercial organization, the sales team, all of these pieces, that they were operating at full capacity.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job.
Absolutely.
Okay. our COO, more than capable, probably, in a different life of implementing EOS. Our CEO, like everybody, I think, had that capability to do it, but not the capacity.
Got it.
So the capacity to really be in this seat that drives a process in a pure and right way each and every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a question of, do you want to get the money out of this, or do you want to kind of do it?
Yeah. Right.
Because you can kind of do it.
Right. Right.
And it's still going to help, but you're not going to get, full EOS,
Mm-hmm.
Implementation. So, and then the other side of it too is that I would say is it is so incredible, and this may be the biggest reason why it's so incredibly difficult to police yourself.
Mm.
It's hard
That's
to
a great point.
call your baby ugly, right?
Totally. Totally.
So, I, as an implementer, I do three things, okay? I facilitate, okay? I teach and I coach.
Mm-hmm.
So take these one at a time. I'm teaching the process. Again, I'm not only trained, but I'm obsessing over this each and every day.
Right.
I'm facilitating, meaning in the room, someone's got to be able to see things and pull them out,
Yes.
right? I got to see like, okay, what's the look?
Mm-hmm.
Why did she just roll her eyes at the visionary when he said this or they said this, right?
Yep.
Somebody's got to be watching for that and asking hard questions.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the last one is coach. Why do you hire a coach? You hire a coach because you need somebody to see the field. You need somebody to see the whole thing as it's going on. Because when you're in the work and you're playing the game and you're doing the thing, you can't see the game.
Yeah.
You can't see the field.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's the benefit.
Yeah.
We would never have been able to execute EOS without an implementer.
Wow. That is fascinating. Would you recommend EOS to every business?
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Tell me about that. What businesses would EOS benefit the most?
Yeah.
Which businesses would, for an entrepreneur out there, would it not make sense for them?
I would start with an easy answer. One is, I think, numbers. There's a number associated to really target. Doesn't mean you couldn't do EOS.
Right.
But I think to fully get the benefit of implementation out of it, it needs to be somewhere around 10 employees at a minimum.
Right.
And then maximum. Often we say 250 employees, but I've worked with businesses bigger than that.
Okay.
Far bigger than that. So I think from that standpoint, that's a piece of it. Then you start to get into the psychology, and this is a conversation that we had before about the way that the founder owner thinks,
Right.
and how willing they are. I would say if I'm sitting down with a founder and they tell me that, okay, we've always done it this way, but we'll try it, and they're good. I'm like, no, like it's not going to work if you don't want it, if you don't want the openness and the honesty, and if you're not willing to go there. The other side is, and you may go, man, how in the world does anybody think of being status quo? But if a company and an owner is okay with status quo,
Right.
but think about it. I mean, there's a lot of businesses out there that are just like, okay, this is making like my family enough money, enough wealth. We like this lifestyle. It's a lifestyle business,
Yep.
if you will. Probably not. It's probably you're not going to get the benefits out of EOS.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. How would you describe, as an implementer, how would you describe your ideal client profile? That's something that I think that language may even come out of EOS. I'm not sure exactly where that comes from.
Yeah,
I know that EOS people talk about ideal client profile a lot, ICP. For your own business,
I think it connects to really that previous question.
Right, it does.
I think it's being willing to, if an owner's not willing to be open and honest with with the people, if they're not really willing to, when we get to a place that says, I'm willing to delegate, responsibilities.
Right.
You sometimes find some founders that they would love to in one side of their mouth, let go of the business and move on and have a succession plan. The other side of it is they won't do it any other way,
right,
besides that way, right? That's a tough thing to overcome.
Yes.
It's trust, man. When it comes down to it, I think if there is a lack of trust, now let me say this, I'm gonna give this a little bit of grace too, because we start into the process a lot of times and it's like, I want to trust, but I don't trust.
Right.
I just need something that bridges the gap. And oftentimes I see EOS, when we begin to implement EOS, they're able to go, okay, I can let go of that. Oh, I can let go of that. And it takes time. This is not a one-time deal. But I think a lot of it is just psychology, behind openness, willing to be vulnerable. If you want to keep everything to yourself and not allow your leadership team to understand or know anything, that's going to be a really hard way to implement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, numbers, we talked about numbers.
Right.
I honestly, Andrew, have enjoyed, I keep wanting to find a niche that might be a little bit more narrow in terms of market, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying so many different markets. So
it's great. It's great. Well, I do think that EOS, for those who maybe haven't heard of it yet, it's one of those things that it'd be certainly worth a look into, and has helped a lot of people. I mean, truly a lot of people. Yeah. Do you have maybe, as we wrap this episode up, do you have a current success story that you'd be willing to give us a high flyby of one of your clients right now, of something that's going on that makes you really excited about what you do? Doesn't have to be super specific. I know a lot of that can be confidential, but what makes you excited? And then we'll maybe wrap up with just how people can get in touch with you. But
I swarm with examples, but
sure,
they're all a little bit different. So, I have one client that has just reached probably about a year into the process. Had some significant people issues that they didn't really know about, but as you begin to firmly live into your core values, and really analyze and see it in practice, those things start to surface. And realizing, having the courage and the bravery to make the moves for the betterment of the company it's hard.
Yeah.
People don't do it.
Right.
But when it's cut and dry and in front of your face, and it's crystal clear that you don't have to make decisions based off of the emotional temperature of the day, but I have real data that helps me understand, oh my goodness, this is what's going on.
Right.
And so I've had some clients here lately who have had some aha moments. Looking back now, realize that, man, there was a bottleneck here that we had to get through, and it was a people issue. Another piece of the business that I love is it's near to my heart, is the visionary integrator relationship.
Yeah.
The duo, the dynamic duo. That is.
Walk us through, for those who aren't familiar, the difference between visionary and integrator real quick.
No, it's good. So when we look at a leadership team, basic functions of an organization includes finance, sales, operations, right? Main functions. what we've discovered at EOS and know that must happen is there's two other functions in an organization. One of those is the integrator. Okay, that's the person. We don't do titles. We don't land on titles. Titles get wonky and weird. I'm not saying people don't use titles, but we don't use titles when we're talking about creating the right structure. Integrator brings these functions together. We call it the glue that holds these things together. They're great at getting in the weeds, solving issues, removing obstacles, barriers, things like that, in the business each and every day. Then there's this function, this person, this dynamic person called the visionary, right? Typically it's a founder,
Right.
but it's that person who lives 30,000 feet above the business, who's always thinking ahead, big ideas. Oftentimes is a big relationship person, really thinks about culture all the time, hovers up here, brings 10 ideas to a meeting, right? Each and every time.
Right.
So you must have both.
Right.
I mean, I sometimes I call it gas brake, When one of the biggest issues with the business is when the visionary is trying to also stay in the integrator role.
Got it.
Sometimes, and this is not to give people permission, but sometimes it is necessary when a business is starting out. But then they don't recognize when it's time, and it's stalling the whole business to not have someone handling the day-to-day, so that they can step up there and continue to see ahead and see ahead and see ahead. And oftentimes when a visionary gets down into the business, it is every employee is what I tell a visionary this, like every employee is waking up and they have whiplash before 8 o'clock in the morning because they've already gone 10 different directions, because that's who you are.
Right.
And if you're down in it every day, telling everybody, talking to everybody, moving these pieces, you're constantly going here. And that's okay. I want you to know that's okay. That's your wiring. That's who you're supposed to be.
That's right, yeah.
But you need to let that go and let somebody else do that stuff and free yourself up to go do that. So going back to what I see and really diving into more and more these days is that making sure that we have a healthy visionary integrator, dynamic duo, because it's as important as that operating system that we're driving with EOS.
Interesting. It's wonderful. Well, I think a lot of people will find this very, very insightful as a great summary. Thank you so much for sharing your story of how you ended up here. And yeah, if people are interested in getting more information, hearing from you directly, how do they get in touch with you? The best way.
Yeah, reach out to me. What I'd love to do is just talk, talk about you, talk about your business, and let's just have a chat.
Yeah.
If it's something you want to look deeper into with EOS, then great.
Right.
If not, I just love to talk about it.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Well, we'll make sure and have your contact information linked up in the show notes and that type of thing. But
that'd be great. Yep.
Thank you so much for being on the show yet again.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.